Access to the night sky. In the same way that the sun rises in the morning, the stars come out at night. For billions of years, the stars have been a critical part of our environment, but development, globalization, and the reckless use of artificial light threatens the habitat of humanity on a global scale. As the light bulb took off in the 19th century, access to the stars and their benefits, astronomy, creative inspiration, and the entire dark sky culture are at risk as light pollution threatens preservation.
It's important for our soul, it's important for our spirit, it's important for arts and our perception of who we are as human beings. People like to say it's the gateway drug to other sciences. It gets people inspired, looking up at the stars and wondering. It's always been part of us, and now we're erasing it.
So the way that we normally define light pollution is we say that it's any form of outdoor light at night that produces some sort of adverse impact. After the Second World War, our economy really took off. That's when our city started to brighten up very rapidly. Here in the United States and North America generally, that rate of growth of light pollution is still faster than population, but it is definitely starting to slow down. And that's part of, again, changing the human relationship to light.
Especially for our work, since we're looking at very faint objects usually, any background light, so from Phoenix or down in Tucson, is going to show up in our camera. It kind of washes out any really dim asteroids. Our fear is always that we'll miss something because it's lost in the background haze of photons from lights down in the valley. Work, certainly, I would hate to miss important object, something that's scientifically interesting, or, even worse would be a small impactor just because it's washed out due to light pollution.
People sometimes say, wow, all these big numbers in astronomy really make us feel small, don't they? Like, the universe is this vast place, and it's true. I think there's a utility to that because it puts what we do on Earth in perspective.
I've always been conscious of lighting. I mean, when I was growing up, my parents would remind me to turn out the lights when I wasn't in the room. So really, it's been part of my persona, whatever. I grew up with it. I've also gotten used to, pulling up into my driveway in the evening and looking up and seeing Orion there. Just the really bright stars, beautiful dark sky. That just means a lot to me.
Car dealers, what I have heard they say is they have the biggest problem with vandalism, in their lots when the power goes out and it's dark, and so people come in and vandalize them. All right, I don't want to see that happening. You really have to start at the community and grassroots level, or at least work from both ends. I mean, it will always be a political issue because to control it, you've got to regulate it. And to regulate it, you've got to have ordinances and laws, and legislative bodies have to pass those. And there will be pro and con. And so there's no way to avoid that.
So you go to Flagstaff and you'll notice that for the most part, their street lighting is this very yellow, almost orange looking light that's made with a type of a lamp called a low pressure sodium lamp. And the reason that they do that is rather than emitting all of the colors uniformly like a white light, those lamps emit in just a little narrow part of the spectrum. If you talk to people in Flagstaff, they understand why the street lights are yellow and not some other color, but they don't have to do a lot of enforcement because people just already kind of get it. They know why it's there, and they generally tend to cooperate from the get-go. So could other cities benefit from the way Flagstaff does what it does? Absolutely.
Well, dark skies have been part of Flagstaff's community identity for 50 years. It's part of who we are.
Putting light blocking curtains might be handy, but really one of the most important things is to not have those huge spotlights on the side of your garage, especially not pointing sideways. Putting better porch lights on the front and back doors of your house. It makes a huge difference.
It has kind of severed our connection to the night sky, which has been this thing that has inspired people for many thousands of years. I think that makes me feel incredibly powerful. And here we are on this little planet, and it's in danger. Light pollution and other kinds of pollution. Don't we owe it to future generations to try to solve as many of these problems as we can? So if that's what the night sky reminds us of, there's a benefit to that that's far greater than whether people can see the night sky. That's why I do this. And I see evidence of that every day.
I think, one of the worst things is that we're whole generations of kids are, especially in the cities, are growing up without ever experiencing those things, so they don't even know what they're missing.
So I have hope for the future as far as our ability to turn this around in the span of a generation or two, if we were really committed to it.
Sometimes you hear people say it makes you feel so insignificant. I don't think it does make you feel insignificant. Every every atom in our bodies was synthesized in the core of a long dead star billions of years ago. So then they blow themselves to smithereens and supernovae and blast all of these elements out into the cosmos, where eventually they become new generations of stars and planets and eventually became all of us. So literally, we are stardust that somehow went from a ridiculous hydrogen atom to this collection of atoms that can ponder its own origins. So I think when we, in a way, when we try to understand the stars, we're really trying to understand ourselves. And if we are literally children of the stars, we're actually not that insignificant. We're part of the universe, and it's really a quest for self-knowledge, and that makes it pretty darn significant.